I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Bartlett Plan Commission for June 9th, 2016 at 7:05 p.m. Will the Secretary call the roll?
Jim Limburg. Rick Hopkins. Sorry. Tim Bridenour.
Here.
John Miasso.
Here.
Diane Nagel. Here. Austin Hopkins.
Here.
Jack Allen. Here. Jerry Callis. Shane Cook. Tom Connor. We have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum. Okay. Before we start our agendas going here, I'd like to welcome our new member, Jack Allen, to the Planning Commission.
Hey, Jack.
Welcome aboard. And,
Welcome.
we're going to have some fun here and see how the village really works.
All right. There's the power.
Next item on our agenda is the approval of the April 14th, 2016 minutes.
So moved. Second.
Second. Is there any discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
Who's second?
I did.
Thank you. Mark Hopkins.
Here.
Tim Bridenour.
Yes.
John Miasso.
Yes.
Diane Nagel. Yes. Austin Hopkins.
Yes.
Jack Allen.
Yes.
Jim Limburg.
The next item on the agenda is case number 16-04, Elgin Beverage, Blue Heron Business Park Site Plan Review. Angela?
The petitioner is requesting a site plan review for a proposed 80,008 square foot industrial building on a 6.7 acre lot in the Blue Heron Business Park for Elgin Beverage, a beverage distributor. There is room on this lot also for a 45,000 square foot addition if needed in the future. A site plan amendment will be required for the addition. The proposed building will be constructed of smooth form-finished white precast concrete walls with gray accents. And the office area is located on the west side of the building, facing 25. The proposed building height is going to be 33 feet and 3 inches. The site plan does show 4 exterior docks and 7 drive-through doors, 4 on the south side of the building and 3 on the north side of the building. 2 curb cuts are proposed, one along Miles Parkway and the other along future Slade Road. Slade Road is proposed to be completed in November of 2016. The curb cuts off Miles Parkway will be used for trucks and cars, and the south curb cut will only be used for trucks to access the loading areas and the drive-in doors. The zoning ordinance requires 35 parking spaces for this use. They identify a total of 40 car spaces, including 2 handicap accessible spaces, which does meet the zoning requirements. The landscape plan is currently being reviewed, and the engineering and lighting plans are currently being reviewed as well. I do recommend approval with the conditions and findings of fact as outlined in your report, and the petitioners are also here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff at this time from the commissioners? The petitioner is here. Do you have any further things to add? Okay. Anyone have any questions for the petitioner?
Yes, I had one. There was somewhere in here that said how many employees you had.
Thank you. My name is John Hoscheit. I'm the attorney for the petitioner. Currently, we have 40 employees.
40. And are they all there at the same time? Because you only have 40 parking spaces.
There's different shifts. The drivers park their vehicles there. We've gone through a site analysis with the parking. We don't expect there'll be an issue with the parking there.
Well, that was my question, because if everybody was going to be there at once, you didn't have enough. Everybody to show up. And I don't know what copy of that or what copy of the plans we have, but mine just has future trash enclosure on it.
Sure. Right now they're just going to do a wheel out trash enclosure. So what we've been doing in all of our industrial parks is we've had a lot of trash issues. So what we've been doing is requiring them to show a future location that we could make them put in case there are any issues.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else have a question, comment? Well, if there are no further questions, then we have a motion to approve the petitioner's request subject to the conditions and finding of fact.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
Tim Bridnour,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Diane Nagel,
Yes.
Austin Hopkins,
Yes.
Jack Allen,
Yes.
Mark Hopkins,
Yes.
Jim Lindberg.
Yes. Okay. Good luck. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is case number 16-03, the Greco Warehouse, Brewster Creek Business Park, Lot 9B1, site plan review. And again, let's see, we have Angela again.
Correct.
Okay.
The petitioner is requesting a site plan review for a proposed about 170,000 square foot industrial building on an 11-acre lot in the Brewster Creek Business Park. This facility would be constructed as a core and shell building and have tenant offices built out at the time of a lease. The proposed building will be constructed of smooth form finish gray precast concrete wall panels with blue and dark gray accents. The proposed building height to the highest point is 44 feet and 6 inches, which does meet our new requirement of 45 feet. The site plan shows 28 exterior docks and 2 drive-through doors on the east side of the building. 2 curb cuts are proposed along Brewster Creek Boulevard. Both curb cuts will be used by trucks and cars to access the employee parking lot and loading areas. The zoning ordinance requires 160 parking spaces for the warehouse and 37 for the office space, totaling 197 stalls. The site plan does identify 197 spaces, including 6 handicap parking stalls. This would meet the zoning ordinance requirements. There are also 42 truck parking spaces located on the far east side of the loading docks. The landscape plan is currently being reviewed, and the engineering and lighting plans are currently being reviewed as well. And staff does recommend approval of the petitioner's request, subject to the conditions and findings of fact outlined in your reports.
Thank you. Are there any
Petitioner is
questions
here
at
as
this
well.
time from the members?
Wait, go slower.
Got to find the right one. Petitioners here this evening? Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Angela, you had something in here about not recommending parking trucks on the north side?
That's the next petition.
Huh?
That's the next petition.
Sorry, I'm ahead of myself.
Any further discussion?
Question?
Questions? Go ahead.
Question for staff. Now, on all of these petitions for these office industrial buildings, we're fully screening rooftop equipment. So when we look at these elevations, do they portray rooftop equipment and screens, or are we just saying it's our policy that we screen them?
I believe that's actually part of the building code, but you have to screen them only from the roadway.
So it's line of sight from the roadway?
Correct.
Okay. And how do we check that?
Through the building department.
They inspect that, and they write that on every one of their reports.
So it might not necessarily be on the actual building elevations that they do show. Some of them do account for that, and some of them do not.
All right, but it's ultimately checked.
Yes. If there aren't any that are not, you can let us know, and we'll take a look at them.
For the building department. Real clean,
We'll forward that on.
real clean.
Sounds good.
Anyone else have any further discussion? Any questions for the petitioner? No? Moving right along. And we have a motion for approval of petitioner's request subject to the following conditions.
So
Findings of fact.
moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Diane Nagel. Yes. Austin Hopkins,
Yes.
Jack Allen,
Yes.
Jim Limburg,
Yes.
Mark Hopkins,
Yes.
Tim Ridnour.
Yes.
Okay. Congratulations, thank you.
It's a nice looking building.
Here we go.
This one we have in the park.
Next item on the agenda is case number 15-24, Exeter Brewster Creek Business Park, Lot 9C1, site plan review. I'm betting it's Angela.
It is me again. The petitioner is requesting a site plan review for a proposed 420,000 square foot industrial building on Lot 9C1 in the Brewster Creek Business Park. This building will contain a maximum of 2 office spaces at this time. However, the petitioner may decide to add office space at some point in the future, and if that occurs, a site plan amendment will be required with review and approval by both the Plan Commission and the Village Board. The site plan currently shows 47 exterior docks and 23 on the north side and 24 on the south side. The I-2 EDA district requires the docks on the north side of the building to be enclosed and recessed 15 feet from the front building elevation due to their location along a corner side yard. The petitioner is requesting a variation from the requirement to allow for exterior loading docks on the north side of the building. And to help meet the intent of the ordinance, the building will be about 6 feet below the street elevation and heavily landscaped with 48 evergreen trees, 8 foot in height, and provide year-round screening as well as large deciduous trees to screen the northern loading docks from Brewster Creek Boulevard. That variance will be heard at the Zoning Board of Appeals July 7th. The proposed building will be constructed with precast concrete panels that are primarily beige in color with a yellow band around the building. The height of the building would be 40 feet 6 inches at the parapets located at the corners of the building. 2 curb cuts are proposed along Brewster Creek Boulevard, located along the north property line. Each access point will be used for trucks and automobiles. However, the parking is located separate from the truck drive aisles. The petitioner is also requesting a variation to allow a reduction in the number of parking spaces. The site plan requires 227 parking spaces, including 8 handicap stalls. The site plan identifies 227. The zoning ordinance requires 449 spaces. The plan does show 220 future land bank parking spaces, which would increase the total parking provided on the site to 449 spaces if constructed. That would meet the zoning requirements. At this time, there are no end users for this building, and the number of employees that will be employed at this large facility is also an unknown factor. Because Brewster Creek currently has a parking deficient for several properties that have grown or expanded over the years, staff is of the opinion 100 of the 222 land bank parking spaces located west of the proposed building and shown in yellow on the site plan on the PowerPoint should be built at this time of construction of the building, and other parking in a total of 122 stalls should be land banked. They also do already provide or show future landscaping as well, so that's kind of already taken into account. The petitioner also requests to install 40 truck stalls and to land bank another 70 for the future. Staff is of the opinion trailer stalls shall be avoided on the north side of the property if possible, and all truck and trailer parking shall be located on the south side of the property. Staff does recommend approval of the petitioner's request subject to conditions and findings of fact as outlined in your report, and the petitioners are here as well.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions from the
Floor of this part, lower.
commissioners or staff?
Question? You talked about recessed docks?
Want to use microphone?
I'm sorry. You talked about recessed docks?
That is our requirement in our zoning ordinance.
Are they shown on the plan? You said along Brewster Creek Boulevard, they're recessed 15 feet?
So that is the zoning ordinance requirement. Since they are not going to be recessing them, they are requesting a variance.
Okay, all right. And are you looking for the Plan Commission to apply a condition for approval that no trailer parking be allowed in the north setback or the north yard?
No, what we're going to do a land bank parking agreement depending on what the village board ultimately approves or denies, I guess. which would encourage them to not put in that future land bank parking for the truck stalls on the north side of the property. So right now they show that they're not going to construct that at this time.
No, but they're dashed in.
Correct. So they're dashed in, and then they're also screened for landscaping. So it'd be really,
Staff is okay with that.
staff encourages them not to, but we're okay with it. And that, like I said, yeah, that'll be included in the parking agreement.
And how do you determine when to build these land bank parking spaces?
The parking land agreement actually kind of dictates that staff can enact when that needs to be built. Typically, it'll probably be, obviously, if they're running out of parking.
So that's not a staff recommends or how did you word it? Staff is of the opinion should be avoided. So the land bank parking, you can go in and say, build the spaces.
Correct.
Is there any other parking issues out in that industrial park, or is there things not being enforced, or?
There is parking. It's actually typically regarding the smaller buildings, not the larger buildings. Some have been addressed by building temporary parking across the street in the surrounding lot, or possibly purchasing property next door. But there's no violations currently.
If we approve, going against our zoning ordinance, which requires 449, and we go to 227, and the owner decides, I can't afford to do those additional spots, and they need that parking, what can the village do to make sure that that gets enforced?
The land bank agreement is actually recorded in the recorder's office and worked out between, obviously, us and our attorneys, and that would be a legal document in order to force them to build them.
Okay, thank you.
So let me go backwards a little bit here. The problems that we're having with the existing smaller buildings is that we didn't stipulate enough parking originally, and now they don't have room for it because of the tenants that they have.
Most of them do meet the parking requirements. A lot of the buildings out there, we didn't have end users, so therefore we didn't know how many employees each of these lots would have.
So similar.
We don't have end users here either.
Correct, but they also do have location, and they actually have more location to the west in case they do actually need some extra parking. They have the land to actually do it, whereas the other buildings have no extra.
All right, so that would have been my question.
Yeah.
We were sort of didn't look far enough ahead on the prior ones, and we have now. So you think that no matter what, within reason, what their end users are, we will have enough parking? Okay.
Typically, these larger users, the large warehouse buildings actually have less employees, whereas the smaller buildings, 70,000, 80,000 square foot have more employees.
Okay.
Do we have many that are bigger than this building? I mean, that's a pretty good size of that park. Just one, that's what I thought, it was like near 500, right?
These cars inside this thing. Yeah, it's a big one.
Okay, all right.
We actually own the building directly south of the site as well. That's the Creative Works building. And that building only has 200 parking spaces. We haven't had any issues with that building either. And this will be really a twin building to that one.
Inside the building.
I'm not sure if this is a question for staff or for the petitioner, but you said here that you got a maximum of 2 office spaces, and I'm looking here, I see one of them on the drawing here. Is there another one already drawn, or would
Yeah,
that be in?
they're located in the corners, so the
couldn't see it.
northeast corner and then the northwest corner.
Really is this door here,
Okay, now I see,
level.
thanks.
It's a drop. But that
And if there's any more added,
then
those would be in the other corners?
how
or-
can it be different? It's ramped outside. So this is just, the floor is higher than this.
One last question. Do we limit the proportion of office that can be ultimately developed in this building because that affects the parking load? So,
We do not, unfortunately. We do require them a standard of 5,000 square foot at least for each office location when we're doing our parking calculation. And not offices, or some are smaller than that,
5,000 feet as what?
Minimum?
is a standard minimum
Okay.
to help aid in adding more parking stalls. Otherwise, warehouse is 1 per 1,000 square feet.
Petitioner, anything further to add? Just state your name and address.
I'm Jason DeFilippis with Exeter Property Group. I'm the Chicago Leasing and Acquisitions Officer. Appreciate everyone's time. I guess the only other comments I'd like to add with respect to parking, we're very cognizant of it. We wouldn't want to construct a building that wasn't useful to a tenant or would cause problems for a village. I think that in our experience with the 1350 Munger building directly to the south of us with 200 parking spaces, I also brought some handouts I could hand out. There are 3 other buildings in Chicago between 5 and 520,000 feet that were recently constructed. We have more land bank parking than all of those developments have for their total parking requirement. So most of those developments are between 180 and 220 parking stalls. So I think it definitely cognizant and respect the village's code, but I think it speaks to the larger users needing less parking. That generally that 227 stalls that we're proposing we build now should be sufficient, but that's why we're also proposing the land bank parking, because we want to recognize the code and we're willing to put it in. There was a question asked, what power does the city have to enforce the code? I think the biggest thing the city holds is a certificate of occupancy for any tenant that comes in. They have to state what their employee counts are, and the city can deny the certificate of occupancy at that time if the parking doesn't exist.
Any further questions? Comments? No. Okay, then be looking for a motion for approval of the petitioner's request subject to the following conditions and finding of fact.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
Diane Nagel,
Yes.
Austin Hopkins,
Yes.
Jack Allen,
Yes.
Jim Lumberg,
Yes.
Mark Hopkins,
Yes.
Tim Ridenour,
Yes.
John Miasso.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda,
Roller skating.
on to 2050 CMAP review video. We're going to watch a movie tonight, huh?
Yeah, I actually put together a little memo about the
4 years.
2050 regional plan, and then they actually gave us some PowerPoint slides that I don't have on here to the video. Glad that wasn't on. So they gave us some PowerPoint slides with some information if you're interested, and then also in your packet was a whole bunch of other information about the plan, and then basically what they're looking for is some feedback from this group. So on this little reddish orange postcard, on the back it actually has all the websites of where to fill out a survey if you're interested. You can follow how they're doing and where all their meetings are. So just a short 4-minute video. Okay.
What will Chicago be like in the year 2050? Will self-driving cars make traffic jams a thing of the past? Will the population mushroom as climate change draws people to the Great Lakes? These are the kinds of really big questions that planners will be wrestling with as a new grand plan is launched tomorrow to shape the Chicago region. Tonight, Jeffrey Baer has an exclusive first look. Jeffrey, good to see you again, but it sounds like the new plan is following in the steps of Daniel Burnham.
Yes, Daniel Burnham, who famously said, "Make no little plans, they have no magic to stir men's blood." Burnham and Edward H. Bennett created the 1909 Plan of Chicago, which sought to transform the crowded, dirty city into a paradise, and parts of the plan came to be, like our glorious lakefront park system and the double-deck Wacker Drive and Michigan Avenue Bridge.
Yes, but certainly Burnham's plan is out of date at this point.
Yes, and there have been many plans that have been put forward since Burnham's time. Most recently, a plan was unveiled in 2010, so 6 years ago, by the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, CMAP. It was called Go to 2040, and some parts of that plan are already underway, or at least on the drawing board. For example, completing the Elgin O'Hare Expressway, which currently doesn't get you to Elgin or O'Hare, extending the CTA's red line, maybe as far south as the city limits. Most importantly, CMAP points to nearly 200 collaborations with local municipalities to help them create plans to align with the bigger regional plan. Just one example we're looking at here is a plan to redevelop the Fox River in Algonquin and Carpentersville. But Phil, that's all so 6 years ago. The new plan, which will be launched tomorrow, takes another 10 years into the future. And tonight we are revealing the name of the new plan for the first time. We've been given an exclusive to do this, so you remember the old plan was called Go to 2040. CMAP didn't want to just call the next one Go to 2050, so drum roll, the new plan is called On to 2050.
With the advancement of our On to 2050 plan, this is the time for big ideas. And so as we go into this 2050 process, we not only don't have all the answers, we don't even have all the questions at this point. And so engaging the public through this process that we're doing now is a big part in better understanding all the questions that we need to be asking at this point as we go into what will be a near 3-year process in actually preparing the plan.
So it's just the beginning stages, but do planners have any idea of what might eventually wind up in the plan?
Yes, lots of transportation for sure, because this is where CMAP has teeth, because they actually control the purse strings for federal money that gets allocated to really big projects. So one big idea, for example, from the 2040 plan that will probably be in the 2050 plan as well, and it now has backing from IDOT, is to charge tolls to use new lanes that are going to be added to the Stevenson Expressway. So life in the fast lane would come at a price. It's a concept called congestion pricing, and according to CMAP, it relieves congestions in all the lanes of the expressway. Congestion pricing is already in use in many world cities and even in some U.S. cities, particularly in Texas. Other big ideas include relieving freight train congestion that drives Amtrak and Metro riders crazy and also affects freight traffic nationwide because we're the rail capital, and this could cause railroads to take their business elsewhere if we don't fix it. Beyond transportation, encouraging walkable communities where people live close to work and shopping, fixing a tax policy that currently encourages exactly the wrong kind of development, like big box stores and sprawl, strategies to prepare for climate change, and there's no equivocation in the plan. They believe climate change is real. And above all, getting communities to play well together for the good of everybody.
I'm an old local mayor, and so I really can appreciate, how local mayors want to cling to their own autonomy. So I envision a strong region, where there is less concern about the borders between the city of Chicago and the suburbs, where, collectively we're working together.
That's it. So if you'd like to fill out a survey online, they would obviously greatly appreciate it. And it's basically whatever input you'd like to give about what you feel will look like in 2050.
Please do fill out those surveys, because that's how they're going to get feedback from all the municipalities. You're representing the village in its planning capacity, and that's the kind of feedback they're looking for.
Does the Board of Trustees see the same video?
We haven't shown it to them yet. They wanted us to have a liaison. Last time we did this, CMAP actually came out. We can certainly show them in the video in the future, but this was our first, attempt, exposure for it. And it's something that we'll probably put on our website and then encourage people to go and give feedback. But the CMAP staff is very appreciative of us doing this. It prevents them from coming out for another night meeting. And so they said they really want the feedback, and everything's done electronically, and that's why they've given us the cards and the link.
Further discussion? Oh. Okay. Next item on the agenda then is old business, new business. New business would be, again, welcoming our new member. Jay, would you care to give us a little background?
Sure. I first came here, I want to say, in '77. There's probably about 6,500 people. So things have changed a little over the years. I've been here for more than probably 30 of the past 37 years. I've raised kids here. I got 2 in college. I've got various nieces and nephews littered about the town. So I probably have enough people to start my own militia, but they're not quite old enough. But I felt at this point my kids are getting older. Maybe it's time to serve the community a little bit. It's always been very good to my family and my relatives, so I think even though it's grown leaps and bounds, it's still a great family community and want to keep it that way.
Well, again, welcome.
Thank you.
Do you have any old or new business?
I don't know if we have any old business. A lot of the projects that you've seen, the last, are being built now. Bartlett Point West subdivision, I think, was the most recent one, and then Bartlett Ridge is getting to the point of getting recorded, and they'd like to start building. But the Bartlett Point West subdivision, the first home's going, that's the one out on Route 25, and that's one you've seen recently. And a couple of the industrial buildings that we've seen in the past, they're under construction or have been built. So you can go out to the industrial department and see the results of your efforts and approval.
Jim, did you ever, did somebody publish the results of those TOD meetings?
That is still coming. We've had, Roberta's more involved in that, so they're coming to the board on the 21st, and then there will be a TOD public hearing in July, which is, yeah. Yeah, Roberta, why don't you get into that?
It's going to be a triple joint meeting between the Plan Commission, the EDC, and the Zoning Board of Appeals, and we're going to have all three of you review it. They're going to present, the consultants are going to come, they're going to present it, and we'll get your input all together at one meeting. First time we've ever done that.
Sounds like a fun meeting.
Yeah, so.
We're hoping to do it in July.
Well, what we're going to do is, whichever month we do it, is we're going to have your meeting at 7 o'clock, because I think we're going to have some items for you to review. So we'll do your meeting at 7, your normal time, and hopefully at 7:30 start the triple joint meeting, the public hearing. So that's what we're anticipating at this moment.
Hopefully the board will pass it on after the June meeting. So if they take longer, then it'll be longer before we have the triple meeting.
So that's going to be July 14th?
We're thinking that now. It depends if the plan gets forwarded on from the committee. The first meeting is June 21st. We shall see.
Anyone else have anything to bring up? New business, old business, anyone? And do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Who was it?